Welcome to the Atlantic City Convention Center on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, for an evening of HBO World Championship Boxing. Tonight's bouts are under the auspices of the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Commissioner Larry Hazard, Deputy Commissioner John Kreco, Chairman Jerry Gormley, and board members Gary Shaw and Stephen Katz. Ring officials assigned by the New Jersey State Athletic Board of Control. Your ringside physicians are Dr. Ken Remsen, Dr. Howard Taylor, Dr. Earl Shaw, and Dr. Charles Wilson. Your timekeeper this evening is the artful Art Spell, counting for the knockdowns at the bell, Honest Earl Curry. Ladies and gentlemen, HWC.1997.04.26 in association with Main Events, Fight Night, Bally's Park Place, and Seagram 7 Crown, America's Good Spirit presents HBO Sports Main Event, 12 rounds for the Linear Heavyweight Championship of the World. New Jersey judges at ringside. From West Orange, Al DeVito. From Barnegat, Barbara Perez. And from Edison, Shafiq Rashada. Your referee for this event from Paterson, New Jersey, Eddie Cotton. Here now are the principals first. In the blue corner to my left, wearing the blue trunks, red trim, weighing 230 pounds. He is undefeated in 36 professional bouts. He has 31 wins by way of knockout from Greenwood Lake, New York. Here is the challenger, Lou Savarese. His opponent in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with red, white, and blue trim, weighing 253 pounds. His professional record, 75 victories, 4 defeats. He has 68 wins by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, he hails from Marshall, Texas. Here is the Linear Heavyweight Champion of the World, Big George Foreman. 12 rounds for the Heavyweight Championship of the World.
Boxers, you received your instructions in the dressing room. Obey my commands. Let's touch gloves, have a good, clean fight.
Watch the gravity run.
I got him.
Can a fighter without a past have a future like Savarese? Can a fighter with only a past have a present? That's what we're going to find out shortly. George looks in pretty good shape.
George looks in excellent shape.
253 pounds at the weigh-in yesterday. By unanimous acclamation, better shape than was the case against Crawford Grimsley in his last outing in Tokyo. Savarese threw 100 punches per round against Buster Mathis Jr. As Larry Merchant pointed out, it's unlikely he would try that many against a puncher like George.
George tapped a light jab, and Savarese smartly sent in a little left hook.
Kind of a laconic start to the fight. Both men moving slowly around the ring as Savarese gets ready to taste George's power at some point.
Savarese is not used to backing up, but he's moving to his right to avoid George's right hand because he knows that's George's best punch.
The right cudgel. He sort of clubs with it. There was a time when George's jab was the most formidable in the heavyweight division, but he's not nearly as quick with it anymore. Savarese landing a light combination there. Now Savarese, for the first time in the fight, moves George backward with a double jab. There's the jab by Foreman. He'll come up top with it and then go to the body. Savarese cranks in a counter left as Foreman tried to feint with his right.
Savarese has a pretty good strategy going here. He's making George throw the big punches and miss, and he's countering with 2- and 3-shot combinations.
Savarese continually moving to his right.
And Savarese is also going to George's body early.
Little mouse under Savarese's left eye as George cuffs him across the top with the right hand. Right hand to the body by Savarese. Foreman backs away and now comes back to station himself in front of Savarese, and Savarese dances along the ropes. Uppercut by Savarese. Couple of right hands to the body. Foreman slow to back away.
Savarese's condition is going to be a big, important factor here tonight because Foreman's going to keep pressure on him, even if he is hitting Foreman a lot.
Eddie Cotton says, don't rabbit punch him. Savarese with a left hook up top. Last 10 seconds of the round. Lou Savarese more active, as you would have expected, in round number 1.
Here we go. Come on. Sit back. Come on, baby.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Don't let him be following the job. We're trying to suck you in the shit.
And then turn the right hand and turn it back thing. He's going to hold and go back down to there.
Yeah.
Have everything to do.
Come on. Just relax.
Late in the round, you saw that Savarese in close, threw a nice little right uppercut, shook George's head back, but didn't seem to faze him very much. Savarese claims that he had sparred with George for about 40 rounds before the Schultz fight, and George swears he doesn't remember him. I wonder if George doesn't want to remember him.
Savarese took that one in stride. He says, well, yeah, okay. Foreman landing a thudding left hand as he walked in.
With a little lead right, which you don't see George throw very often.
The man who spoke most, and there's a hard right hand by Savarese up top. The man who spoke most to Foreman between rounds was Charlie Shipes. Dundee had very little, if anything, to say. He won't get laryngitis working with George. Jab by Foreman. Savarese taps to the body a couple times. Left hook up top by Savarese. Foreman lands a left uppercut.
Both fighters had very good left hands just then.
Savarese has a still head, Roy. He's not exactly elusive in there.
No, he's not. But he's doing very good at taking George's punches right now. Better than expected. He better move his head from the left and the right to the left and right some, though, because if George hits him with this left uppercut, it will be all over.
Cutting right hand up top by Foreman. Savarese coming back with a combination.
And Savarese is beginning to show a little tire. He's breathing hard, and Foreman has pressure on him. Foreman won't let Savarese rest.
If you're expecting George to tire, you may wait longer than you think because he is so amazingly relaxed in the ring. In his prime, George Foreman could hurt men with glancing blows.
Yeah, and now I think Savarese's punch output is going down a little bit because he's catching punches from George.
By punch stat numbers, Savarese threw 64 in round number 1. That would be a good busy work rate for him if he could keep it up.
George is hitting him with some big jabs.
Solid left hook thrown by Savarese. Foreman has been much more active in round number 2. He only threw 22 punches in the first round, has greatly exceeded that total here.
George is popping a very good jab in between Savarese's gloves.
Well, I've heard both you and George sit next to me and say it gets a lot easier when you have an effective jab.
It does get a lot easier because it keeps your opponent from thinking when you hit him with the jab.
Good job.
Keep your balance. You got it out? Mouthpiece? Okay, give me.
Real good. Bring your hands back. That's all. Bring your hands back.
Don't lose your balance. Keep your hands down. Put your hands down. You hear me?
Come on.
Don't get caught. Caught that boxing. Go back to boxing. Keep that right hand for that jab.
Nice jab. Turn the right hand.
Okay? Don't get caught up in that shit. You okay? You're doing good. You're doing good. Just box more. Box more and get your punches off. Okay.
Savarese is staying right in front of George, landed a nice straight right and 2 left hooks. But staying in front of George has not been a formula for success in the recent past. He is not using very much movement in or out, left or right.
Remember that Michael Moorer stood in front of Foreman, found it easy to score against him, but wasn't able to finish the fight upright. In the second round, Foreman launched 28 left jabs and landed 19 of them. Two good body shots by Savarese.
Very good body shots, and these punches will weaken a fight in the long run, as we found out.
Foreman sticking that jab and landing consistently. Savarese coming back with combinations.
Lou, let's up. Keep him up a little bit, too. Up a little bit. Let's go. Some heads.
Is there blood from Savarese?
Well, he had a mouse over his eye in the first round, or under his eye in the first round.
George just hit him with a beautiful 1-2 combination.
George is quick tonight, Roy.
George looks very good tonight.
Savarese thundering a right hand against George's left cheekbone. Foreman has always taken punches well.
Yeah.
This is a very good fight for George Foreman.
Yeah. Well, what we know about George is that his chin is Texas granite.
Yeah.
Stop punch, stop punch, stop punch. Step back, step back, step back, step back.
There's a cut over Savarese's left eye.
In a bad place, too. That blood starts to flow. It could affect Savarese's vision and make it hard for him to stop George's right hand.
That eye, I understand, has been cut in the past.
And now working with a target, George thunders forward like a pachyderm, looking for opportunities to stomp.
Savarese have to make sure he covers up from this left uppercut that George throws inside. Oh, good right body shot by Foreman.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Free. Let's go. Let's go.
Foreman is working good on the inside to Savarese's body.
Savarese still standing in front of Foreman and allowing him to land, not moving side to side as he did in the first round, not giving Foreman angles, trading punches with him at his peril.
This has become a toe-to-toe battle here.
This cannot be good for Savarese to stand in there and slug toe-to-toe with Foreman, unless he's absolutely certain he can take these shots, Roy.
Yeah, I think he'd be better off to stay outside and use a jab against Foreman's thumb.
What he did in the first round was an excellent plan.
Don't do that. Give it time, get time. Don't fight inside with him. Don't do that here. Box this guy. You hear me? That jab is, you ready there more than with him. Take your hand and put it in your lap. Put your hand in your lap. Listen to me. Yeah? Box more. Use your speed and quickness.
Flowing. You got to aim your punches a little with him, all right? From here, you got to aim those punches. Let's go. Use your quickness and use your power.
Yeah, use your quickness. Don't get to party with him, man. He wants that shit. He ain't got to move a little bit. Make him move a little bit. You okay? Okay, let's go now.
Yeah. So, pick the right spot.
Seconds out.
George sees the eye, goes for the eye, hits the eye.
Round 4 of a scheduled 12 for George Foreman and Lou Savarese. Savarese looked in the first round as though he wanted to box Foreman, and you heard his cornermen between rounds asking him to go back to that and to stop standing inside slugging with George.
Sometimes when a guy doesn't know how to fight backing up, or when he doesn't have a lot of experience fighting backing up, it makes him lose confidence to back up from a guy. He feels as though he's changing his strategy too much.
Letterman, how'd you score the first 3 rounds?
Jim, I got it 2-1 Lou Savarese, 29-28 in points. I thought Lou Savarese boxed nicely in the first round. Out-punched George toe-to-toe in the second, but that toe-to-toe style didn't work for Lou Savarese in the third. Interestingly enough, one rule, Jersey, you can't wear a hat in the corner. That's why Tommy Gallagher doesn't have his hat on tonight.
Harold, you know everything. I also have it 2 rounds to 1 so far for Savarese.
This is a better heavyweight fight than some of the fighters with the guys that are in their prime.
For entertainment value, how can you beat it? 2 big guys pounding away against each other. That's part of why the public loves Big George.
Stop.
No chess matches.
Okay, George, keep him up. You're all right. Keep him up, okay? Let's keep punching. Let's go.
When last you saw referee Eddie Cotton in a big fight of international impact, he was disqualifying Andrew Valletta against Riddick Bowe, and entirely correctly so.
Oh, good body shot by Savarese.
Needs more of those.
Needs a lot more of those. George Foreman goes out and he's just chopping at a tree, just like he does every morning when he wakes up.
I suspect George could fight till he's 60 if he keeps finding opponents who will stand right in front of him. The problems he's had when opponents didn't stand right in front of him.
George is looking better than I've seen him look in a long time.
It is awfully hard to beat George Foreman fighting the fight that Savarese is fighting right here.
Stop punching. Good
there
job.
There are a lot of punches being traded here.
If he can beat Foreman this way, he'll be the first one to have done it. Muhammad Ali didn't do this. Jimmy Young didn't do this. Evander Holyfield didn't do this, and Tommy Morrison didn't do it. That's why they were all winners against George Foreman. Cutting left to the body by Foreman. Another round in a phone booth for Lou Savarese.
Just don't lay him there. Keep turning when you're throwing your shots, just like you did near the end of the round. Keep turning.
Okay.
Give me the grease. Give me some water. Open up. Yeah, grab it. Put your arms down, Louis. Not bad. Come on, Louis. Gotta pay attention to what you're doing in there.
You got to get that, Lou. Try to box a little bit more. Keep this guy off you. You get in there, you're mauling with him. See, he wants you to do that shit.
Boom,
he ain't got to use no sprint.
You're smothering your punches.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on, baby.
Come on. Box a little bit more.
Don't trade. Don't have to trade. Bing, bang, get out. Bing, bang, get out. Give him the mouth. Low.
Seconds out.
Isn't that interesting that the advice for Foreman is to do the things that we thought Savarese should do. He doesn't want George to trade, and you explain it to me, Roy.
Well, what he's telling him is not that he doesn't want him to trade. He's telling him that after he punches, he wants him to step around to the left or the right. That'll keep him from catching so many punches after he throws his punches. He wants that inside fight, but he doesn't want him to stay directly still so he'll be his target.
Foreman winning another round on Letterman's card. Savarese's jab output has gone down in every round so far. He threw only 10 jabs in the the 4th round as he has resorted to trading power shots to George Foreman at close range.
George Foreman has hit Lou Savarese with 4 straight big left hands, and they don't seem to bother Savarese at all. One thing Savarese has made up in his mind, though, he is not going to run from George Foreman.
And just as Foreman's punches don't seem to be creating immediate damage for Savarese, by the same token, Savarese's punches don't hurt George.
Well, nothing hurts George.
George has had a history in his recent bouts of getting puffy in the face, puffy around the eyes, and cutting in the late rounds. But here it is Savarese who's cut in the early rounds. Still scoring against Foreman.
George uses his arms for defense so well. Not many fighters know how to do that.
That's good, that's good, that's good. Well, his arms are as big as most people's legs.
Now Savarese is pushing George back like George normally does other people.
Stop punching. Good job.
Hard man to push.
Step back, I got it.
Push a guy around that pulls cars around.
I started to say, shot of the car strapped to his back. Savarese had seen that. He might not be bothering him to try to push him. Boom. Savarese talking to George as he takes the right hand and comes back with a combination.
Savarese is having a good time in here right now.
Well, if he likes getting hit, this is like a luxury vacation.
This is the only fight that Savarese knows.
It's one with which George is rather intimately familiar, too. Rocky 6 continues in Atlantic City. Real Sports promo. Don't miss the May edition of the Emmy Award-winning Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Among the stories we're working on, an in-depth profile of world-class personality and basketball player Charles Barkley, and a look at why baseball still hasn't been able to replace Bud Selig with a permanent commissioner. Monday, May 12, 10 o'clock Eastern Time.
Hey, come here. Keep him turning, Just don't lay in there. The guy's looking to rest on you, okay? You're doing good with that referee. Close your mouth. Go right.
Fire. Yeah. Come on. You got to set it up in fire, baby.
A lot of this.
Come on.
6 more.
Come on, baby. Come on. Close your eyes.
Yeah?
Got to set
Okay. Watch that hole behind the head.
Roy, what do you think Dundee means when he says to George, you're doing good with the referee?
I don't know. I didn't hear him when he said it. Maybe he's not. He's telling him that the referee is warning him. I don't know what he means by that.
Maybe it means he's getting away with the occasional low blow.
That's what I was about to say. The referee is not warning him for stuff.
Yeah.
Or what he could mean is that George may be doing something that he shouldn't be doing, but he's doing it on the opposite side of the referee. In other words, when the referee is to George's left, he could be doing something with the right hand that the ref doesn't see.
In round 5, which was a good one for Savarese, he went back to the higher punch count, threw more jabs. He threw 30 jabs in the round, 80 punches overall, and seemed to be doing better with that formula.
No, come on, let's do one more time. Keep it up. Okay, behind that, let's go. We don't want to take a point away.
I promise there's a guy on my basketball team by the name of Mike Hackett that could be George Foreman's twin.
Could be George Foreman's twin?
He's about George's height. His head is shaped just like George. It's unbelievable.
You might have heard referee Eddie Cotton warn Savarese that he would take a point away if he hit George in the clinches behind the head again.
A rabbit punch warning from Cotton.
Stop punching, step back. Good job, fellas, listen up.
And as Cotton demonstrated in the Galata Bow fight, he will penalize him.
A punch that will work for George right now is that if he fakes the left jab and comes with the left hook, mainly because Savarese commits with the right hand to block the jab so much, because George's jab is so hard.
Come on, let's go, let's go. Come on, pick him up, Blue. Pick him up.
What about George's uppercut, Roy?
Well, George may be a little tired, or he may be taking a little break here. He's not punching as much as he was earlier.
Step back. Come on, fellas.
You know, which raises the question of stamina if this goes on. Stamina and conditioning and age.
He's conditioned. He's well conditioned. He's probably just taking a small break.
They trade jabs after the Savarese combination. Foreman thudding away with the right hand inside. Savarese doing a lot of things well in rounds 5 and 6. Jabbing, remembering to go to the body, but still taking a lot of George Foreman's thudding blows.
You know, he's obviously not a big power puncher, but he puts his punches together rather nicely. And he certainly has lived up to the moment. He's dealt with all of this with some very nice poise.
Yes, he has.
Halfway through a scheduled 12, and for both fighters, the likely knockout rounds have passed.
That jab. He walking in wide open. Jabbing through that right hand.
Choke your punches up, keep your hands closed.
Double up on that uppercut. Don't just let it go with the body. Your left uppercut. Double up on it. It's working beautifully. Under, up, do it. Keep turning, okay? Don't forget the jab.
You hear what George just said? I don't know what's holding him up.
He's hitting it with some big shots, and he's not going anywhere.
George,
Look how the vein is showing in Savarese's right arm now.
George is a super salesman. You wonder if he is selling the judges on what's going on in here, because he is the aggressor.
Well, with regard to the subject of what's holding Savarese up, Axel Schultz took a lot of heavy lumber in 12 rounds and stood up.
Now, there's a question really about how much George is a heavy puncher, and whether he is a real power puncher anymore is questionable. He did knock out Moore, but Moore had shown that he couldn't take a big man's punch in the past. But he's hit Schultz with a lot of clean punches. He's hit Savarese with clean punches, and you heard he himself say, what's holding him up?
George is still a big puncher. I can tell you from looking at the way that George throws his punches.
Can you?
Yes, I can.
But they always say, Roy, the punch that hurts you most is the one that you don't see. And it's hard to imagine the Foreman punch that you don't see.
That's how you can tell he's a big puncher, because you see him and he still knocks people out with
Keep
him.
up, George. Keep up.
Savarese, apparently happy with the way he's scoring on the inside.
Let him go, Lou. Let him go.
Willing to stand in with George Foreman. What do you make of that bulging vein along Savarese's right shoulder and arm?
I don't know what that is. It looks like it wants to pop. He may be about to change and turn into the Incredible Hulk.
Well, it happens in a lot of his fights. It's a common syndrome for Savarese. Just missed with the right hand there.
Keep him up. Keep him up.
Foreman thudding him to the body.
Watch him head. Watch him head. Both of you.
Oh, that was a big shot by George Foreman.
Strong legs for Lou Savarese. Able to lean against Foreman without giving ground. And strong legs can keep a fighter up against a power puncher.
Yes, they can.
Foreman right around the belt line there. Savarese breaks away with an uppercut, goes back to the jab, lands a right hand and a left hook, and Foreman keeps rumbling forward.
Means nothing to George. I mean, here's a guy, like I said, that totes cars around all day. A big punch is nothing for him to tote.
any damage or not. The Savarese shots, you know, are doing damage because you see them.
I have it 4 rounds, 2 and 1 even.
So Savarese ahead on both scorecards here. As we go into the last 5 rounds of the fight. Savarese starting to move around a little bit more and stay up on his toes as round 8 begins. Foreman getting up and dancing a little bit with him.
Foreman's starting to land his jab a lot more now.
And you wonder when the right hand will come behind it.
The reason he's landing is because Savarese has no head movement.
Just like Moorer at this stage of the fight.
You know, not a lot of heavyweights do have much head movement.
That's good. That's good. Watch your elbows. Watch your elbows. Come on, come on. Watch your elbows, George. Elbows.
There came the right hand one time.
Yeah.
Savarese handled it very well. Comes back punching in combination. Crowd starting to chant Louis, Louis, Louis.
Louis isn't punching as much this round as he has in the previous rounds.
Now he starts to get a little more active.
Some of the body shots from George in the early rounds may be starting to show a little here.
Now Savarese goes 1, 2, 3 times to the body here.
His punches look a lot slower than they did in the early rounds, though.
But he's landing. This amounts to a Savarese rally over the course of the past 15, 20 seconds.
Stop punch, stop punch, stop punch, stop punch. I got you. Stop punch. Come on.
Now it's Savarese who hits Foreman in the back of the head.
Get back. Look, we got 1 time more, all right? Now I got to take a point, all right? Okay, let's go. Let's go.
So now both fighters have been warned for rabbit punching. Good left hook by Savarese.
Good combination by Savarese.
Left hook by Foreman.
And left uppercut.
It's round 9. We got to have the next 3 rounds big. You hear me?
Come on,
We got to have the next 3 rounds big. You hear me? We got the punch. We got to have these other 3 rounds big. It's round 9. You hear me? Let's go, Louis. Come on.
So your next one in the back, I'm taking a point. That's okay. That's 3-1. No, look, I can see
Put it around him.
all right?
Come on, Louis.
How you feel? Yeah, look here. We got 3 more rounds to go.
And we need them.
We need them all.
We got the jab. You're beautiful when you jab. Keep jabbing.
There you go, right.
Don't put your helmet on.
Close. Do that slip jab. Boom. Pick him up. Then nail him. Pretty.
Seconds out!
Lou Savarese has gone beyond 8 rounds only once in his career.
Back it up, Lou.
He's got 4 critical rounds coming up.
Stat numbers through the first 8 rounds find Savarese landing 58 more punches than Foreman, throwing 249 more punches than Foreman. But Foreman landing 53% of all the blows he launches.
Good right hand inside by Savarese.
Savarese still flurrying in combinations. Foreman wading in, pounding 1 punch at a time.
I wonder if George remembers those 40 rounds of sparring now. because I think the fact that Savarese sparred with him so many rounds may be helping him in this fight.
Yes, it could be.
George going more and more to the uppercut now in the latter part of round 8 and the beginning of round 9.
He certainly isn't behaving like a sparring partner, Roy.
No, he isn't. He's behaving like someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who's been here, done this. And he's the one who may have learned something from that sparring match, if it happened.
You know, of course, George has been in with so many guys in sparring. It's understandable that if he didn't remember.
I don't know. You tell me, Roy. Is it possible to have sparred 40 rounds with a guy and remember nothing?
If I sparred 40 seconds with him, I know it.
That's what I thought.
I'm just trying to give George the best of it. I don't want to accuse him of old ageism.
Or how about psychological gamesmanship?
Keep up, keep up.
Hard right hand inside by Savarese. Foreman coming back with uppercuts in combination.
And a big right hand by George. That didn't move Savarese.
Savarese so far able to take everything Foreman throws and keep coming back with his own.
And these are some tremendous exchanges.
Your money's worth.
Yes,
The
indeed.
Atlantic City Convention Center.
Let him go, let him go, let him go. Good job, good job, good job.
Not too many fighters in history have taken the old George Foreman 1-2 at close range this many times and stood up through 9.
None that I can think of.
No. Beautiful. Just keep doing what you're doing. Nice and steady. Don't let him steal the round.
We need these rounds. You got to keep punching from bell to bell, son. You don't get crazy when you get inside. You get you with that little shoulder, but put your hands in the seat. You hear me? Come on, we got to punch from bell to bell. If we get inside, we got to punch, but if we don't need to get inside, we can box forward and win round.
Let's take a look inside. A good left hook. Short left hook by George Foreman.
Seconds out.
Through 9 rounds, George is still punching away. And there was a standing ovation at the end of that round. Across the ring from us, one of the standees, the great Joe DiMaggio. Guys, I once saw DiMaggio sitting ringside for a Sugar Ray Robinson fight with Ernest Hemingway.
George comes out landing this jab early.
And Savarese suddenly doesn't look quite as willing to take George's punch.
Maybe he's wearing down a little.
Foreman thunder raining on Savarese as the Greenwood Lake, New York heavyweight backs into the corner and then slips out.
Oh, good body shot by Big George.
Up, fellas. Good job. Watch them hands. Watch them hands. Watch them hands, Lou. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go.
Both fighters' arms are probably a little weary now. On the inside, neither chooses to punch so much.
A real hard right by Savarese inside. But you just can't discourage George. I mean,
Let's keep them hands.
I doubt that any man in history has taken a punch as well as George Foreman.
All right, stop punching, stop punching, stop punching, stop punching. Good job. Step back, step back.
Which only makes Ali's knockout of him in Kinshasa, Zaire that much more miraculous.
Well, of course, that was fatigue and a kind of breakdown in the ring. was a different George Foreman, a Foreman who fought so hard in the early fights and so robotically that he wasted himself.
Foreman sticking the telephone pole jab into Savarese's mouth. 52 seconds to go in round 10. George has leveled a lot of punishment at Savarese in this round.
Yes, he has. Indeed. Oh, good uppercut by George.
Stop punching. Good job.
One of the amazing things at age 48, how accurate George can be with his punches.
Stop punching. Pick him up. Back up.
Product of reflexes that are still there. Almost inexplicably at this point.
That was a good body shot by Lee Savarese.
Good combination. Left hook up top following the body shot. Another left and right by Savarese. Hard left hook up top by Savarese. And Foreman thunders back. Round 10 is.
Savarese is tired, but he refuses to let George beat him.
How about a rinse? You want a rinse? No, okay, good.
Thought about it for a second.
Put the ice in my mouth.
There's the Yankee Clipper.
One of the great men of sporting history in America. Here we see George going to work with his left hook, which has been his most effective punch along with his left jab. He's done relatively little damage with his right
Your old
in
man's
this
up
fight.
there with mine. Bring this home. Fight this guy. Use your jab. Come on. Let's go.
He's ready. You heard Tommy Gallagher trying to whip his horse home, reminding him what's at stake here for both of them.
Your old man's up there with mine. Savarese's father died in 1989, just shortly before he began his professional career. He says that he weathered the storm of his father's death by writing poetry about it.
Sometimes it eases your mind from stuff when you write about it. Unless you get the frustration outside of you.
Stop punching. Stop holding the hip too. Let's go. Good job. Keep him up, both of you.
Hard left hand by Foreman. Savarese momentarily stopped in his tracks. Now begins to throw again. The right hand is low.
Every time George catches Savarese with a punch, Savarese counters. And usually with more than one shot.
Even though Savarese is fighting a 48-year-old man, his stock might rise after this fight, win or lose.
Good job.
He's fighting a 48-year-old man who is equivalent to some 25-year-old men.
George really does still have some stuff.
A lot of
Question
stuff.
about it.
A lot of stuff, and he keeps pressure on your whole entire fight. Most of the guys that are in their primes can't do this.
Well, part of it is that he's not terribly worried about your punch.
That's part of it. I mean, if you walk around with a Jeep on your back all day, would you be worried about a punch?
Savarese about to throw the right again. Now he backs off. Three-punch combination from Savarese. And a thunderous right-hand uppercut by Foreman. Good body shots by Lou Savarese.
Good head shots by George Foreman.
Round 11, another war in a phone booth.
don't get this. Why would he take a point away for the first bad low blow, Harold, even though he warned him about some shots behind the head earlier?
Well, Larry, I tell you, it all started with Angelo Dundee before the fight started. He was psyching Eddie Cotton, yelling he's going to hold us behind the head, and sure as the devil, Cotton started warning him for rabbit punches and holding him on the head. And then Cotton warned him a couple times for low blows. He finally pulled the point. But I think it really was unjustified because he never hit him flagrantly low.
I agree. I think that was not a good...
Oh, there goes Savarese. That left hook hurt Savarese, but I don't think George knows it. He will make it out of this round, though. That left hook did hurt Lou.
It is a low blow. Flagrant, you decide.
They're trying to rob this fucking fight from us.
You have me, Lou?
Come on, fuck the eye. Put your hands down, Louis. Come on.
You have me, Lou? Can you give us 1 more 3 minutes? Huh? Can you go all out with these 3 minutes? Okay.
Give me the. There you go.
You're looking pretty. Mouthpiece.
Last round, George. Last round. Last touch.
The end of the round, George left hand. Big, tall, strong left hand.
Man, please.
George is a salesman, but he's got a product to sell.
Harold, how do you have it going into this last round as Foreman lands another big left hook?
Jim, as I see it, whoever wins the 12th round wins the fight. 104 because of the 1 point that Eddie Cotton pulled. 6 rounds to 5 Savarese. But even at points, whoever wins this round wins the fight. I got it even.
And right now, George Foreman is winning the 12th round big with some monster shots in the first 30 seconds.
Because he felt Savarese beginning to weaken the end of that last round. That gave George confidence. It means that all the work he's been doing, all the chopping he's done at that tree is now starting to pay off. The tree is starting to bend a little.
George Foreman trying to close the show in his 80th professional prize fight, dancing and chasing Savarese in the 12th out of 12 rounds.
This is very disencouraging to a young fighter to have a guy 48 years old chasing you at the end of 12 rounds.
Another thunderous left hook by Foreman, up and under. That left uppercut is landing time after time.
Okay, stop punching, stop punching.
Savarese's activity level way down in the 12th. Now here he comes.
Those body shots that George is hitting him with have basically drained Lou Savarese.
We got him.
Well, he's showing a lot of heart and a lot of courage. This is his first big-time match. He's in with one of the better conditioned guys he ever could have faced, and he's been there the whole night. And he's not trying to back down now.
Stop punching. Come on, we got him. Go ahead. All right, let him go. Stop punching. Go, step back. Just step back, Lou. Step back.
Oh, that was a big right hand by George.
Go, hands free. Stop punching. Good job. Step back. We got it.
If Lou Savarese loses this fight, he might have lost it in the first minute of the 12th round.
Yes, he did.
Close fight. I thought George might have pulled it out with a late rally in the late rounds.
Okay.
And that point that the ref took from him from that low blow definitely helped George.
Thank you.
Bunch-stat numbers in the 12th round. Foreman landing 29 out of 45. Savarese 19 out of 63.
The official decision is announced. Let's hear it once again for Lou Savarese and George Foreman.
There were moments when it was indeed Rocky VI. Crowd got its money's worth. Harold Letterman, how did you score it?
Jim, I agree with all of you guys. 114, 113, big George Foreman, based on that 1 point that Eddie Cotton pulled in round 11, I thought quite unfairly for low blows. I mean, it was a very, very close fight. George Foreman certainly wore down Lou Savarese in the last 4 rounds. I thought George Wood clearly won rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12, with Savarese tired badly. I had Lou with a big 6-2 lead after 8 rounds. Foreman just tied it up in the last 4 rounds, and I believe that 1 point, just as it did last week in the Junior Jones fight, is going to make the difference.
So on Letterman's card, Savarese wins 6 of the first 8 rounds, and Foreman gets credit for winning the fight. Interesting challenge to the 3 ringside scorers tonight here in New Jersey. A week ago here on HBO in Las Vegas, you saw a very close fight scored for Junior Jones against Marco Antonio Barrera, as Jones won the late rounds with rapidly increasing pressure. Very similar script here tonight in an entirely different looking fight. Let's go up the ring announcer, Mark Barrow. Out. And now we pause as they tell us that they need a moment to recheck the 3 scores with the judges. And Larry Merchant tells us that he has heard in the ring we're about to hear a split decision. Now let's go to ring announcer Mark Barrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a split decision. Judge Al DeVito scores it 114, 113, Savarese. Judge Barbara Paris scores it 115, 112, Foreman. And Judge Shafiq Rashada scores it 118, 110 for the heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman. Foreman.
118, 110. George Foreman, winner by split decision. The 3rd judge announced, Shafiq Rashada, scores it 118, 110 for Foreman. After the first 2 scores, Al DeVito 114, 113 for Savarese. Barbara Perez 115, 112 for Foreman. So an unusual divergence on the scorecards, and Foreman gets credit for the 76th win of his career.
Big George never stops.
And you have to assume that Mr. Rashada is an aficionado of power punching.
Yes, he is.
And now let's go to Larry Merchant with George Foreman.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, George. Were you surprised that it was a split decision?
Well, it was a decision for me, and that's all that counts. Sometimes you do your best, and the other judges see that the other guy did his best, and it's like a beauty contest. I'm just happy to have the victory.
At one point during the fight, we heard you say in the corner, I don't understand how he's standing up.
I did not understand that. I hit this guy with lead right hands and lead left hands that should have dropped anyone. I don't know where he's got the strength in the legs to do that. I still don't understand that.
Were you surprised that he showed that kind of jaw, given the fact that he hasn't been confronted with a big puncher before in his career?
I was forewarned about this guy's courage and his strength. Even the odds favored him somewhere in Las Vegas, so I knew that he would be standing there when the fight ended. I was trying for a knockout, but if it didn't happen, I wanted to be a welterweight. I've been watching enough of those young fighters on HBO to know how to box a little bit. I'm learning as I go.
George, at least on our card, you were behind the first half of the fight. Did you consciously step it up? Did you think that he weakened in the later rounds?
Well, I was landing a lot of power shots early on and wasn't counting on putting together a lot of combinations, just power shots, hoping to drop him. And when I saw that wasn't going to happen, so I just picked up and started landing a number of jabs, lead right hands, and things of that nature to get the points on the board.
Did he ever hurt you?
Yeah, I was hurt a couple times.
Really? With what?
He threw one, I think it was a straight right hand, hit me on top of the head, and I thought I was going to do the boogaloo for a moment, but I realized people were going to dance and say, George can't even dance like the rapper, so I stopped doing it. He hurt me there, he did.
Can you tell us about your comments about the referee? Angelo said in there, the referee is okay, you're doing good with the referee. What did he mean?
Well, the referee was not going to take any nonsense. He warned me a few times because I tried to go to the body and sometimes I slip a little below the border. I didn't go below the belt, but it was enough to make me understand that he was right because it did go low. And then the other guy holding me behind the head, he warned him fairly. It's seldom you get a good, honest referee, so I give all of that to Larry Hazard. This man, I put my whole life in his hands. I even gave up the WBU notification or whatever you call it because I wanted Larry Hazard, the State Athletic Commission here. After I saw the job he's been doing when we did the HBO fight, I trusted him to get fair judges and referees.
Did you think he was justified in taking a point away from Savarese for fouling?
I can't remember that one. I thought he was taking it from me. I really did. I said, I must have hit him low or something. I didn't know. You mean it was Savarese?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. I thought it was me.
George, you showed tonight that as long as a guy's going to stare there and punch you, you might be able to fight until you're 68.
I don't know about that. I'm starting to confuse things more than I am helping things. I'm almost 48, 50 years old. Tonight I had to box. I don't like boxing. I like knockouts. These guys are deciding, hey, I'm going to stay there and take some of this punishment, and I don't know about that.
All right, you're still in play. You won the fight. What are you hoping for next?
Well, I just want to stay active. I'm a professional fighter. I've got about 9 kids, and they're all trying to go to college. I can't talk them out of it. They don't want to play basketball or football. They won't get a scholarship. It looks like I'm going to have to pay for them. And, so show me the money.
Thank you very much, George.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?